All right, a quick video to show you what I'm working on today. Move my coffee out of the way. I am working on, these are Kawasaki fuel sending units. And what you will always find with these is that I've already completed one. You see that end right there? This one's in really good shape. When you leave fuel in it, this gets eaten up and gets pretty roached out and will look something like this. This one's still usable. They get to where they're like turned to this sticky, gooey mess. But if you'll notice that on these sending units, each of these is a phenolic material float that registers for the fuel level in the tank. So there's a clip that keeps them all in their respective places, and there's 4 of them on every unit. So I kind of did this one a little wrong. I was supposed to put one of the you noticed this right here. I forgot to put that under this one. I don't think it's going to make that big of a deal. I'll use this in my own jet ski, but it's always you've got a clip, washer, magnet facing up on your float, then this spacer, okay? Then you get a clip, you'll do the same thing. Plastic washer, magnet facing up, spacer. See that? There's your clip, washer, magnet up, and then spacer, which I forgot on this one. And the problem about messing these up is they have you have to solder this on and take it off with a torch. You've got to get some. I'm out of flux. I've been trying to use straight up acid out of that bottle right there, some electrolyte for a motorcycle battery. But anyway, it's really hard to get this to re-stick without cleaning it really well with on the end. And I use a piece of emery cloth or sandpaper to clean these up. When they're really roached out like this one was really, you can see it's all pitted. The brass is damaged. But I use the drill with a brass brush to get those cleaned up. Now I do have a grinding wheel, but I don't have a wire brush on the other end of my grinding wheel, so I can't. It would be much easier to do it with a grinder if you have that. If you don't, drills are handy, brass brush, and this has got to be really clean going back on. I need to go to the hardware store and buy some flux. I am using miniature packets of Gorilla Glue. I do 4 dots in each of the cardinal positions of the circle to redo my magnets. Now, one of the things that I've noticed is that the magnets seem to get weak and it will still not work even when you've got these floats float and all that. So I'm using a very powerful magnet that I let all of these, took them off, let them flip, stick to hopefully get their magnetic properties restored. That's my hope, and see how this project is going to come out. So these are $200 and some odd a piece. These all came from a jet ski junkyard. I'm going to try to rebuild these and maybe sell them online for much less than what people are charging for these. But I also want you to notice that on these jet skis, you have 2 sizes of tanks in the Kawasaki jet skis. And you can see that I'm lining up my caps. These are pretty much the same length, but look at this. Do you see the difference in the length on that? And this one is another long one here. Most of the STXs that I've seen, STX versions of the Kawasaki jet ski, see, these 2 are the long ones. These came off of older jet skis, like 96s, 97s. And they had a longer, there's 2 different size tanks in those Kawasaki's. Most all of them have gone to this shorter fuel sending unit for some reason. And I actually have, 3 of the shorter ones. I'm going to run these, you know, most of these are going to have to run without the little rubber stop on the end because I don't have spares of that. But I have re-glued magnets in the top of my phenolic floats. I'm letting those dry. And if you know Gorilla Glue, you know that it foams up. So I'm trying to use, see how that's foaming? So I'm trying to use as little as possible because I don't want it to get on the inside of that. So I just wipe the foam as these are drying. And I'm hoping that Gorilla Glue is going to do the trick. I don't know what else to use. Maybe some super glue would work. But I'm using those mini Gorilla Glues. I'm going to let these dry. I'm going to go to the hardware store and get some more solder. I've got, this is rosin core solder for electronic boards. So I'm going to go get some acid core solder and some flux so that I can get these to stick. Because getting them to stick, you heat this up. And you can see where I've been doing it on the board here. It's very difficult without the right solder to get this to re-stick. This fits quite well, and you just boom. So without that rosin, the acid core solder and some flux, I'm having a hard time getting these little ends to stick back on. But I'm going to get it. And this is how to rebuild your... Okay, so I am working again on the fuel sending units for the Kawasaki jet skis. You see I got a nice clean tube end there. I went and purchased this flux, paste flux. It's the same thing you sweat copper pipe together if you're doing plumbing fittings. That flux helps the solder to flow like it's supposed to. And I've got to clean these little button ends up. See how dirty they are? Because I want my solder to stick cleanly. So I'm going to assemble them. I'm going to solder it. And I can't video while I'm doing the work because I can't find my tripod. It's somewhere. And I'll clean this up. I'll put it together and I'll show you the finished product. So I brush on a little flux onto the surfaces that I'm going to be mating together. That one, this one, just a little bit. Flux those up with this paste so the solder will stick well. And it's got to be clean, no grease or anything. Okay, like that so on the Kawasaki fuel sending units, you have got two different links because the Kawasaki actually has two different size tanks. Now I've noticed on the older machines they use these longer ones. The STXs have the bigger tank just like the old 1100s, the 96 and up 1100 ZXIs. They had this one in them, the big long one. And the newer 98, 99 STXs seem to have the shorter sending unit in them, even though they have the larger tank. So I haven't quite figured out why that is. Let's measure these. So you can see the longer one is 29 centimeters, which is about 11.5 inches. The one that you're most likely going to run into working on, it is 26.5 centimeters. So that comes in there, and 10.5 inches, just about. So most of them are going to be this shorter one. And I think the reason they got away from this long one is it was difficult to remove from the jet ski with the tank in place. I know I've pulled a few of them. Especially on the ZXI models, you had to finagle the tank and get this into a certain little position where there was an extra little space pocket in the side top part of right around the steering wheel of the jet ski to get this thing out. It was kind of a pain in the butt. So I think they switched to mostly all this shorter one. There's still going to be fuel beneath it. And I guess, you know, that's a good thing because even when it says you're empty, you've still got... Okay, so at the end of the day, my work period here, I have 4 Kawasaki fuel sending units. 3 of the short ones, and one of the long one. Let's see.